Welcome back to Around the Table with Stacy Smith. We're discussing politics, especially the last night's debate and where things stand as far as the polling shows. Keith, I'm going to throw this out to you because I find it interesting. You're talking about ticket splitting in Pennsylvania. American Crossroads, which is a political PAC, I think helped to be started by Karl Rove, has ads on right now that basically say, that you should vote for Oz, and I'm trying to remember exactly how it's phrased, but basically it's saying that I know what it is. It's on the crime thing and the releasing of prisoners, that Shapiro voted against releasing those prisoners and Fetterman voted in favor of releasing prisoners, and so it's really begging people almost to split their vote.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think maybe there is a certain reality that we're staring down right now. I mean, the fact is that Mastriano has been outspent, including coordinated dollars and independent expenditures, 27-1. How do you overcome that with the makeup of Pennsylvania, with the collar counties no longer red around Philadelphia? It's harder to make up votes there. The numbers are more and more difficult for us. And then you're outspent 27-1. You know, so at this point, there has to be almost a reality check for a lot of us that's not in the cards. So a lot of our efforts, a lot of our independent expenditures, a lot of the people outside of Pennsylvania that we understand the balance of power in the United States Senate might literally be decided in Pennsylvania, are putting all their resources to bear on the Senate race, understanding that this is a ticket splitting race, accept the fact that we're going to come up short on the governor's race, but put everything into winning this Senate seat and capturing a new majority in Washington for the GOP.
It sure does look like that. It looks like the GOP has written Mastriano off because of a lot of reasons, many of which Keith and the governor have articulated today and previously. And I think that's targeted. I think that is a targeted advertisement to Republicans who seem to be associating Mr. Mastriano with the entire GOP, with every candidate down the ballot, in particular the Senate. And what I think the message is look, don't throw all of our candidates out because you're not for this guy. You know, we need it subliminally. We need you to hold the course. If you're going to be for Shapiro, it is what it is. But don't go down ballot Democrat. We want you to split your ticket, as Keith said, and stick with our party on this candidate. Here's why. You got to watch. Let's watch Philadelphia that night. You know, if Philly, it's a numbers game. If Philly comes out 550,000 advantage Fetterman, it's going to be very difficult for Dr. Oz to catch him, if not impossible. He'll need to catch him in the 79 corridor, where we have hemorrhaged Democratic voters for 12 years. Hillary lost because of the 79 corridor. Mr. Biden didn't do much better on the 79 corridor, but Mr. Trump fell back in other areas of the state. If the state party and the coordinated campaign has stopped the hemorrhaging on the 79 corridor, and there's a lot of new leadership in our party up and down that corridor, if John comes out 550, they've done their best to try to patch the leaks out in the West. It will be curious to see if there's enough there, or if they have done enough to recapture those votes and allow that type of a cushion out of Philly to maintain an advantage for John and a victory.
And it's interesting to note that in many of the Democrats' ads, they are combining candidates that they're against, whether it be Schaefer pictured with Mastriano.
Mm-hmm.
They're all being pictured with Mastriano. Oh, these are bad people. Vote against them. Vote for our individual. So it's a matter of psychological warfare. In the numbers, Pennsylvania is getting very interesting because the northeastern part of the state that we haven't talked about used to be heavy Democrat. That changed in 2010, 2014, 16, and continues to be leaning more Republican, but not to the numbers that they are down in Philadelphia. When Hillary lost in Philadelphia, she didn't make 550,000. She made about 540. And I predicted on TV that night that Trump was going to win because of her lack of coming out of there with that vote. It used to be they said, you win 500,000, you've won. Well, that's changed with the dispersion of people across the state, but also the political lines. The Southeast is not, the collar counties were Republican, they're down Democrat. The counties out here in Western Pennsylvania, absent Allegheny County, they were Democrat, they're now Republican registered. So it's a very interesting time in politics.
Sometimes we use our own language, and sometimes I think your viewers might need a cheat sheet. I don't disagree with what Jim said, but I think your viewers have to understand what the 79 corridor is. And that is all those counties between Pittsburgh and Erie in the western part of the state. That's our famous 79 corridor, where it has really, they've stayed registered Democrat, but they voted Republican in federal elections for now almost over a decade.
Isn't it amazing what has happened out here? I mean, it used to be they were almost all blue guys. I mean, Beaver was blue, Butler was red, but look, Erie was blue, Greene, and Fayette, and Washington, and Westmoreland, they were blue. But not anymore. I mean, you get clobbered down there if you're a Democrat now, even though many of them are still registered D. Mercer.
I agree with your big numbers in Philadelphia, what you have to come out of it. But remember what we talked about a week or two ago, which is the mail-in ballots.
Yes.
It was 2.5 million, I think, in 2020, and now they're saying it was a little over 1.1 at the time a week ago. But not only that, that's in and of itself being down 57% is a big number. But the other thing I've learned since that broadcast is Republicans have done a much better job on mail-in ballots this time. So whatever that smaller amount is, 1.1, 1.2 million, there's a higher percentage of Republican ballots than there were in 2020. So that could be a differentiating factor on election night.
It's respectfully, it's not down 57%. Those numbers that were given to us were at the end when all were tallied. What Stacy gave us was what was in so far with 3 weeks to go. I suspect we'll have as many, if not more, write-in mail-in ballots by the time they're all counted. The number
that's not how it came in 2020. They trickled in at the end.
Okay, but
there's no reason to believe that they're going to come in large numbers in the last 2 weeks.
But 57% is not a final number. They're 50%
I agree
lower.
with that.
They're 57% lower than the total from 2 years ago, but they're still coming in. You may be right on trickling in, but we'll see.
All right, we'll take another break. We'll be back in just a moment.